The stars stretched endlessly across the dark ocean of space. Tiny points of light, each one a sun, each one with its own worlds, its own secrets. Humanity had spread far, from its home on Earth to hundreds of these stars. They built stations, colonies, and shipyards. They fought wars and signed treaties. They traded with alien races and even made fragile friendships. But there was one place no one went. They called it the silent boundary. It was not marked on maps with warning signs. It had no flashing beacons or military patrols. And yet, human ship crossed it. No alien dared to pass. The line was invisible, but everyone knew where it was. Star charts ended there. Officially, it was the edge of explored space. Unofficially, it was a wall of fear. The patrol captain Ilara Voss sat in the command chair of the Vanguard, a patrol cruiser assigned to the outer sectors. She was known for her calm face, even in the middle of danger. Her crew respected her, but some whispered she was too curious for her own good. Today, her ship was running a quiet patrol along the farthest route, the one that brushed the edge of the silent boundary. Out here, space felt different. The stars seemed colder, sharper, as if they were watching. "Captain," said her first officer, Lieutenant Ren Hawley, glancing at his console. "We're approaching marker 17. Beyond this point." He hesitated. "Beyond this point," Ilara finished for him, "is where the maps stop." Ren nodded. His voice dropped. "Do you ever wonder why?" Ilara's lips curved in the smallest hint of a smile. "All the time." The rest of the crew worked in silence. The hum of the ship's engines was steady, but the air felt heavier the closer they got to the boundary. Then, a faint beep broke the quiet. "Captain," said the communications officer, Ensign Merrick, "I'm picking up a signal." Ilara leaned forward. "From where?" Merrick frowned. "Ahead. Just beyond the marker. It's faint, repeating." "Let's hear it." A crackle of static filled the bridge, followed by a series of short and long beeps. Ren's head snapped up. "That's Morse code." Ilara's eyebrows rose. Morse code was ancient, long before interstellar travel, before even radio. "Encryption. What does it say?" Merrick tapped quickly at his console, translating. His face paled. "It says, 'Help us.'" The unspoken rule. The crew exchanged uneasy looks. Everyone knew the stories. Long ago, ships had gone beyond the boundary. Explorers, thrill-seekers, smugglers. None had come back. No wreckage, no distress calls, no answers. "Just gone. Could be a trap," Ren said carefully. "Or a ghost signal," offered the science officer, Dr. Evan Kaur, though his voice was tight. "Old transmissions bouncing off something." Ilara didn't answer. She stared at the dark space ahead. Something about the signal bothered her. It didn't feel like an echo. It felt fresh, urgent. Merrick adjusted the sensors. "It's coming from just beyond the line." "Bring us closer," Ilara ordered. Ren turned to her. "Captain, that's an order, Lieutenant." The Vanguard glided forward, slow and silent. The navigation screen showed the marker flashing, the last known point of mapped space. Beyond it, the display was empty. The disappearing drone. "Launch a Class 4 probe," Ilara said. "Full spectrum scan. Let's see what's out there." The drone shot from the ship's launch bay, a small sphere packed with sensors. It zipped toward the invisible line, cameras streaming live video on the bridge's main screen. Stars wheeled slowly as the drone moved forward. The crew watched, holding their breath. Then, without warning, the video feed went black. "Signal lost," Merrick said sharply. "No telemetry, no debris. It's just gone." Ren stepped closer to the captain's chair. "You see? That's why no one crosses." But Ilara's eyes were locked on the screen, as if she expected something to reappear. And then she heard it. A whisper. At first, she thought it was her imagination, a faint hiss at the edge of hearing. but it grew soft and rhythmic, like someone speaking words she didn't understand. "Did you hear that?" she asked. Ren shook his head. Merrick looked puzzled. But Dr. Core swallowed hard. "Yes," he said quietly. "It sounded close, like it was right next to me." The pull of curiosity they could turn back, report it as a phantom signal, pretend they'd seen nothing. That was what most captains would do. That was the safe choice. But Alara had never liked safe choices. She thought of her father, a miner on a distant colony, who'd once told her, "The stars are full of doors, Alara, but most people are too afraid to open them." "Captain," Ren said firmly, "if you cross that line, there's no guarantee we'll come back." She met his eyes. "We're not crossing. We're just looking a little closer." Ren didn't believe her, but he didn't argue. The shadow in the dark as the Vanguard edged nearer, the sensors picked up something, not a planet, not a ship, more like a shadow, but it wasn't blocking any light. It was darker than space itself, as if it swallowed starlight whole. Distance 5,000 kilometers, Merrick reported. The shadow began to move, slowly, but toward them. On the comms channel, the whispering grew louder. Alara could almost make out words now, though the language was still strange. It didn't sound hostile, but it didn't sound friendly either. Then the signal changed. The Morse code came again, this time faster. "Help us. Help us." The shadow kept coming. The decision Ren's hand hovered over the navigation controls. "Say the word, Captain, and we jump out of here." Alara didn't answer right away. She felt the crew's eyes on her, waiting. Her instincts screamed at her to run. But another part of her, the stubborn part, wanted to know what was behind that darkness. The shadow stopped, just shy of the marker. It was as if it could see the boundary, and would not cross it. And then it retreated, sliding back into the black. The whispers faded. The Morse code stopped. The silence was absolute. The uneasy return. Alara gave the order to turn back. No one argued. The Vanguard swung away from the silent boundary, engines flaring. But the crew was quiet during the return trip. Too quiet. In her quarters that night, Alara played back the comms recordings. The whispers were still there, faint but real. She slowed the audio, trying to catch a word or two. And then, deep in the static, she heard a phrase. In clear, perfect English, "Don't let them out." The recording kept playing. In the quiet of her quarters, Captain Alara Voss sat alone, staring at the screen, the words still echoing in her mind. "Don't let them out." The voice was clear, too clear. It had come from beyond the silent boundary. But who had said it, and what or who was them? She played the clip again, the same strange static, the same deep, heavy whisper, and then silence. Her fingers hovered over the console. She could file a report. She could call it a technical glitch, send the data to the Fleet Science Division. But deep down, she already knew what would happen, the same thing that happened to every report about the boundary. It would vanish, deleted, erased. The debrief. The next morning, the Vanguard docked at Orion Station, a massive wheel-shaped structure turning slowly in the shadow of a gas giant. The docking clamps locked onto the ship with a heavy thunk. Fleet Command was waiting. In the debrief room, Alara sat across from two officers in crisp black uniforms. Commander Halle, no relation to her first officer, and Admiral Varric, a man with a voice like gravel. "You encountered an anomaly," Varric said flatly. "Explain." Alara kept her face calm. "A faint distress signal. Old Earth code. When we sent a drone, it vanished. No debris. We detected a dark object. It approached but did not cross the boundary." "Did you cross it?" "No." Varric studied her for a long moment, as if searching for a crack in her expression. "Good. You will file a Level 3 incident report. Mark the signal as unresolved and classify the coordinates as restricted." Restricted? Ilara asked. Sir, there could be someone. The Admiral cut her off. That will be all, Captain. Hawley slid a data pad across the table. Sign it. Ilara's eyes flicked down. The report was already written. It said the signal was likely an old echo, the drone malfunctioned, and no further action was needed. She signed. Slowly. The visitor later that evening. As she walked the station's crowded civilian deck, Ilara felt eyes on her. She turned. A tall, thin man in a faded pilot's jacket leaned against the wall, watching her. When their eyes met, he gave a faint smile and gestured toward a side corridor. Normally, she would have ignored him. But something in his expression, something tired, something urgent, made her follow. The corridor was empty. The man spoke first. You're Captain Voss. That's right. And you are? Name's Orland Dax, retired explorer. Used to run deep chart missions before the fleet locked them down. Ilara folded her arms. And why are you talking to me? He glanced around, lowering his voice. Because you went to the edge. And you saw something, didn't you? Her eyes narrowed. What do you know about the boundary? I crossed it, he said. Once, long time ago. The warning, his voice grew harsher, his hands trembling slightly. What's out there? It's not empty space. It's not uncharted territory. It's a prison. Ilara felt her chest tighten. A prison for what? Dax shook his head. I didn't stay long enough to find out. My ship's system started failing the moment I passed through. Gravity readings went crazy. And then I saw a shadow moving between the stars. Bigger than planets, it looked at me. He swallowed hard. I barely made it back. And when I did, Fleet Command wiped my logs. Threatened to take my license if I spoke about it again. Why tell me now? She asked. Because I think the locks are breaking. Before she could reply, his gaze shifted over her shoulder. His face went pale. They're here. Ilara turned. 2 security officers in fleet black were walking quickly toward them. Dax stepped back. Find the old war records, he whispered. Look for the missing fleets. Then he pushed past her, disappearing into the crowd. The security officers reached her. Captain Voss, one said sharply, you are requested for further questioning. The unwelcome interrogation. They brought her to a small, bare room. No windows. Just a table and 2 chairs. A different officer entered, Major Relk, Intelligence Division. He sat, folding his hands. You've been speaking to Orland Dax? Yes. Ilara said, keeping her voice even. Forget what he told you. He's a known fabricator, a man with mental instability. Ilara leaned forward. And yet you're keeping tabs on him. Relk's smile didn't reach his eyes. For his own safety, and yours. Captain, the boundary is off limits for a reason. If you're wise, you'll leave it alone. When she didn't answer, his tone hardened. Am I clear? Perfectly, she lied. An old friend back on the Vanguard. She sent a secure message to Sergeant Cade Rin, a former Marine she'd served with during the Rim Wars. He had left the military and was now a private security contractor, and one of the few people she still trusted. When his face appeared on the comm screen, he grinned. Ilara Voss, last time I saw you, you were dragging me out of a burning trench. And you still owe me for that, she said. What's going on? I need a quiet ship off the fleet's radar. And I need it soon. Cade raised an eyebrow. Sounds like trouble. It is. Interested? He leaned back, thinking for a moment. For you? Always. Where are we going? She hesitated. Beyond the boundary. His smile faded. You're serious? Yes. He exhaled slowly. Then I'll bring the big guns. The choice that night, Ilara stood on the Vanguard's observation deck, watching. The stars. Part of her wanted to forget everything, to obey orders, stay inside the mapped routes, live the rest of her career in safe, predictable patrols. But another part, the louder part, burned with questions. If Dax was telling the truth, if something was breaking free out there, then staying silent was worse than any danger she might face. Her father's words came back to her. The stars are full of doors, but most people are too afraid to open them. She had never been afraid of doors. Departure 2 days later, a sleek black Corvette called the Iron Talon slipped away from Orion Station's shadow. No transponder, no flight plan. In the cockpit, Cade handled the controls like they were part of his body. "We're running on full stealth," he said. "If the fleet's watching, they'll think we're just another piece of space debris." Ilara nodded. "Good. Take us to these coordinates." She handed him a chip. He plugged it in. The star map shifted, zooming toward the far edge of human space. Cade glanced at her. "This is it, isn't it? The line no one crosses." "Yes," she said, "and we're going to find out why." The whisper returns hours into the journey. The ship's comms crackled. At first it was just static, then the faint sound of beeps. "Morse code," Cade muttered. "Old school," he translated. "Help us. Help us." Ilara felt a chill. "That's the same signal I heard on the Vanguard." As they drew closer, another sound bled through, the whisper. It was faint, but unmistakable. Cade looked uneasy. "It's not coming from a fixed point. It's everywhere." The voice grew slightly clearer. This time, Ilara could almost make out the words. "Don't let them out." She met Cade's eyes. "We keep going." Closing in, the silent boundary lay ahead. No physical marker, no visible change, but the ship's sensors registered a sudden drop. In background radiation, as if they were entering a shadow cast by nothing, Cade's hands tightened on the controls. "Once we cross, no promises. We could lose comms, navigation, everything. Then we prepare for that," Ilara said. "But we don't turn back." The whisper came again, louder this time. And behind it, faint but rising, came another sound. A deep, slow rhythm, like the beating of a massive heart. Neither of them spoke. The line was right in front of them now. And then they crossed it. The Iron Talon drifted silently through the blackness, its sleek form cloaked beneath layers of stealth technology. Outside, the stars blinked coldly, indifferent to the small ship daring to cross the great unknown. Captain Ilara Vaz sat rigid in the pilot's seat. Beside her, Sergeant Cade Wren's hands moved with practiced ease over the controls, guiding them steadily toward the edge of known space. The silent boundary. They had no right to be here. No one did. Yet here they were, about to cross the line that generations of explorers had feared. A line shrouded in mystery and whispered warnings. The moment before the ship's sensors flickered, warnings flashing briefly on the consoles. The instruments strained to make sense of the data as the Iron Talon pushed forward. Ilara's heart hammered in her chest. She glanced at Cade. His jaw was tight, eyes locked on the controls. "No turning back now," she whispered. Cade gave a short nod. "This is it." The air inside the cockpit was thick with tension. Every sound, the soft hum of the engines, the faint beep of the sensors, felt magnified. Outside, the stars seemed to shimmer oddly, bending in ways that made Ilara's stomach twist. The invisible wall, the silent boundary, was not a wall of metal or energy. It was invisible. No radar or scanner could detect it until you touched it. As they neared the line, the ship's systems began to glitch. "The sensors are going haywire," Cade said, voice tight. "Life support? All stable, but navigation's losing lock. Comms might go next." Ilara's fingers danced over the controls, trying to compensate. The display warped, showing distorted star maps and scrambled readings. The boundary felt like a living thing, resisting their presence. Crossing the line then, suddenly, the ship slipped past the invisible edge. Everything changed. The stars shifted, colors warped like oil on water. Time itself seemed to stretch and contract. The Iron Talon's clocks began running out of sync. What the hell? Cade muttered. "Elara swallowed. Hold steady." They drifted forward into a strange region of space. The colossal ring ahead. A massive structure loomed. It was a ring, bigger than any planet they'd ever seen. Its surface was a shifting mosaic of dark metal and light, impossible to tell if it was alive or built. The ring hung in space like a giant gate, silent and foreboding. "Is that artificial?" Cade asked. "Not human," Elara answered. "Not anything we've seen." The iron talon sensors failed to penetrate the ring's surface. No scans could map its interior. The whispering returns, the strange whispers filled the ship again. This time, the words were clearer. "You were not invited," the voice said, echoing inside their minds. Ilara's skin prickled. She clenched her fists. "Who are you?" she demanded aloud. The whisper didn't answer. Dead ships, suddenly. Sensors detected movement. Drifting nearby were several ships. They were old, broken, and lifeless. Hulls scarred by unknown damage. Ilara's heart sank. "Alien," Cade said, studying the images, but with human distress signals. "How is that possible?" Elara murmured. They scanned one ship and found inside the remains of an alien crew and scattered human bones. The mystery deepened. Boarding the wreck with great caution, Elara and Cade prepared to board one of the dead ships. In the airlock, the silence was oppressive. Inside, the ship was dark and cold. The walls were covered in strange symbols, glowing faintly. On a cracked display, they found a log entry. The message told of countless alien fleets trying to cross the silent boundary. All lost. The Watcher arrived suddenly. The ship shook. Through the viewport, a massive shadow approached. It was not a ship or a living creature. It was something between, made of shifting metal and organic matter. The Watcher. It loomed over them, imposing and terrifying. Then, a voice. Not spoken, but heard directly in their minds. "This place is not for you. Leave or be unmade." Ilara's defiance. Elara squared her shoulders. "We want to know what lies beyond." The Watcher's form shimmered. "Your kind is not ready for what is awake." The threat was clear, but Elara would not back down into the unknown despite the warning. Elara ordered the Iron Talon toward the ring's inner gateway. The ship passed through a glowing portal on the other side. Space was alive. Massive shapes drifted through the void, gigantic beings that dwarfed planets. Stars themselves seemed to pulse beneath their gaze. The Star Titans. They were the Star Titans. Ancient, powerful entities older than galaxies. One Titan turned to face them. Its eyes blazed like suns. With a flick of its enormous limb, it shattered a distant star, feeding on its energy. Elara realized the silent boundary was not a prison to keep intruders out. It was a cage to hold these Titans in, and the cage was breaking. The flight home, the Watcher reappeared, damaged and warning them of the coming storm. Elara and Cade raced back through the ring, chased by shadows faster than light. Their ship shook as it pushed engines to limits. They barely escaped back across the boundary. Aftermath, back in human space. The authorities arrested them, but before silence could fall, Elara broadcasted the truth. Millions saw the Titans. Fear spread like wildfire. Elara's final words echoed. "We thought the boundary kept us safe. We were wrong. Now they are coming." The Iron Talon barely cleared the ring's boundary, engines screaming as they pushed against the invisible barrier. Captain Elara Voss and Sergeant Cade Rin sat tensely in the cockpit. Behind them, the vast ring remained, glowing faintly in the darkness of space, as if watching their escape. But the horrors waiting beyond the ring were not finished with them yet. The dead ship. The crew of the Iron Talon had boarded one of the dead alien ships drifting near the ring. The ship was silent, cold, and eerie. Strange markings glowed faintly on the walls. Inside, Elara and Cade found remains, both alien and human. The mystery deepened with every step. The logs they found told stories of many alien fleets that had tried to cross the silent boundary. None had returned. The silence had swallowed them all. How many species have vanished here? Cade asked quietly. Too many, Ilara answered. The arrival of the Watchers suddenly. The ship trembled. Sensors went wild as a massive shadow loomed over them through the VIEWPOR to dot. It was not a ship, not a creature. It was something different. It was called a Watcher. Its body shifted between metal and flesh, glowing faintly with unknown energy. Ilara felt its gaze in her mind, heavy and threatening. This place is not for you, a voice spoke inside her head. Leave or be unmade. Ilara swallowed hard but stood firm. We want answers. The Watcher's warning. The Watcher's form pulsed with energy. You do not understand. What lies beyond is awake. Ilara's breath caught. The Watcher explained, in thoughts, not words, that the silent boundary was a cage built long ago. It kept the Star Titans trapped, being so powerful they could destroy entire galaxies. If the cage broke, the Titans would escape. They hunger, the Watcher said. And your kind must not awaken them. Ilara's choice. Ilara knew the truth was terrifying. But fear would not stop her. We have a right to know. We will not run away. The Watcher shimmered, a strange sadness in its mind. Then prepare. Because once the Titans awaken, nothing will stop the coming storm. Inside the cage, Ilara and Cade dared to move deeper into the ring. The ship's sensors barely worked inside. Around them, space itself seemed alive, colors shifting, stars bending. They saw the Titans, colossal, slow-moving creatures drifting through the void. Their eyes burned like suns. One Titan broke off, looking toward them. Its massive form blocked distant stars. Ilara's heart pounded. The Titans. Hunger. The Titan shattered a distant star with one blow. The explosion sent waves of energy crashing through space. The crew realized the silent boundary was more than a limit. It was a prison wall holding back creatures of unimaginable power. And the prison was weakening. The chase, suddenly. The Watcher returned, but this time damaged. They are waking, it warned. You must leave. The Iron Talon turned to escape, but shadows chased them, moving faster than light itself. The ship shook violently as it sped toward the boundary. Back in human space, Ilara and Cade barely crossed the silent boundary before collapsing in exhaustion. The fleet arrested them, warning of treason and spreading panic, but Ilara had made a decision. She broadcast the truth to every channel. Millions watched the terrible sight of the Titans. The storm approaches. Fear spread across human colonies. The silent boundary was no longer safe. Ilara's final words echoed in the minds of millions. We thought the boundary kept us safe. We were wrong. Now they are coming. The Iron Talon had barely escaped the silent boundary. But what Ilara Voss and Cade Rin saw beyond the ring changed everything they thought they knew about the universe and humanity's place in it. Beyond the ring, as the ship passed through the colossal ring's glowing portal, the stars outside transformed. Space was no longer the cold, empty darkness humans had studied for centuries. Instead, vast, moving shapes drifted slowly through the void. Enormous, silent giants that looked like moons or planets, but alive. Ilara's breath caught. We are not alone, she whispered. The Star Titans. The shapes were the Star Titans. Ancient beings, older than the galaxies themselves. They fed on the energy of stars, crushing them to extract power. One Titan noticed the Iron Talon. Its eyes glowed like burning planets. It turned toward them, massive limbs folding as it prepared to move. The cage is breaking. Jilla felt the weight of the Watcher's warning. The silent boundary was not just a limit. It was a prison cage. It kept the Titans trapped, unable to roam free and devour the stars. But now, the cage was weakening. The Titans stirred, and they were hungry. The Titans' power. Ilara watched in horror as the Titan shattered a distant star with a single blow. The explosion sent waves of energy rippling through space. The Iron Talon sensors struggled to process the immense power. "This is bigger than anything we imagined," Cade said. Alara nodded grimly. "We have to warn them, everyone." The return journey, they turned the ship to return to human space. The Watcher appeared again, battered but still warning them of the danger. "Once the Titans awaken fully, nothing will stop there." Hunger. The Iron Talon raced against time. The threat grows back in human space. Alara and Cade face suspicion and hostility. The fleet arrested them, accusing them of risking humanity. But Alara had a different plan. She broadcast the truth across every channel. Millions watched the terrible footage of the Titans. Panic and resolve fear swept through the colonies. But humanity refused to give up. Leaders debated. Scientists raced to understand the Titans. Alara became a symbol of warning and hope, preparing for war. The silent boundaries' secrets had been revealed. The cage was breaking. The star Titans were coming. Humanity's survival depended on courage, unity, and fighting beyond anything they had faced before. The final words. Alara stood before a crowd of thousands. Her voice steady, full of fire. "We thought the silent boundary kept us safe. We were wrong. Now the future of humanity depends on facing what lies beyond. Together." The Iron Talon surged through the black void, engines pushing beyond their limits. Captain Alara Voss gripped the controls, her eyes fixed on the fading stars behind them. Beside her, Sergeant Cade Rin fought to keep the ship steady. They were racing home, but home was no longer safe. The Watcher's last warning as the Iron Talon sped toward the silent boundary. The damaged Watcher appeared one last time. Its shifting form flickered, unstable, but its message was clear and urgent. "Titans awaken. The cage weakens. You must warn your people. Prepare. Nothing will stop what is coming." Alara nodded grimly. "We will." The Watcher vanished into the darkness, leaving the cold silence behind. Shadows in pursuit. No sooner had the Watcher disappeared than the ship's alarms blared. Shadows, fast, dark and flickering, raced after them. They moved faster than light, twisting space around the ship. Cade's hands flew over the controls, pushing engines to maximum. "We're not going to outrun them," he warned. Ilara's mind raced. If they failed, the Titans would be free, and humanity would have no warning. The boundary crossing, the silent boundary, came into view, the invisible line that separated known space from the nightmare beyond. Sensors failed again. Communications cut out. The ship jolted as it crossed back. Outside, space returned to normal, but the shadows stayed close. Cade fired defensive pulses, but the shadows twisted through the attacks. Returned to humanity, they arrived at Orion Station. Exhausted and shaken. The fleet immediately arrested them, accusing them of breaking orders and spreading fear. Alara faced the cold eyes of Admiral Varric once more. "You risked everything for lies and panic." Alara met his gaze. "This is no lie. The Titans are real. They're coming." The broadcast realizing she had no support in the fleet, Alara took a desperate step. Using secure channels, she broadcast live footage of the Titans and their destruction. To every ship, station, and colony, millions watched the monstrous giants, the shattered stars, and the broken Watcher's warnings. Panic erupted across human space. The coming storm. The silent boundary's secret was out. The cage was failing. The Titans stirred, and their hunger was unstoppable. Leaders scrambled to prepare defenses. Scientists raced to understand ancient technologies. Humanity united amid the chaos. A new hope arose. Alara became the voice of courage. Cade gathered old soldiers and new recruits. Together, they formed a force ready to fight the coming storm. Final stand. As the Titans approached, humanity braced for battle. Ships armed with new weapons raced to the front lines. Alara's words echoed across channels. "We thought the silent boundary kept us safe. We were wrong. Now we fight for our future. Together.